Maxwell.
Okay.
I'm confident.
Hi,
Hi.
Tori. We'll wait for Ted. Like I said, PMAC's sick.
Oh, okay.
Um, and so I think it'll just be the three of us, but I'll make sure we can wait a couple minutes here
Oh, sounds good.
for him. Where are you coming at us from?
Oh, I have a loft bed, so it's like underneath it,
Cool.
under my desk.
Oh, and Ted's here.
Sweet.
Cool. So like it's a bunk bed, but there's not a bunk. It's
Yeah,
just
it's like a
like
desk.
I think I've always wanted one of those.
Oh, that's funny.
I would have like loved that, loved that. So we're recording. So Ted, will
Oh,
you do an
sweet.
intro and we'll just start it from here?
Yeah, sure. Welcome to Down the Alley. This is Ted T.S. Spirides.
And this is Katie. PMAC is sick in bed. Um, and for all the like wives out there, we know that uh boy colds are not the same as colds. But Ted, you were sick last week and you guys traveled together. So I think we can blame you. But he also did travel more this week. So I think just, it's that time of year. Um, but we have a special guest tonight, Miss Tori Tschida from Lakeville South. We're so excited about having you to interview. I think we're both feverishly here trying to pull up Lax Hub. But because I know a little bit about you, but I think it's exciting to learn more about you. So since we're all here, let's just go ahead and dive in. I did, Ted, that podcast you sent me, the Gary V one about like, they were talking about like keeping the unedited stuff like
Hmm.
in the I don't know, in your content. So maybe we can have that beginning part just be a little off the cuff thing. We didn't say anything inappropriate this time. So sometimes
Yeah.
we do.
Yeah, Tori, welcome to the show. And we've made a little bit of a switch in the last couple episodes from talking to coaches, and we wanted to talk to more players. And I guess for those that don't know you, if they don't, maybe just give us a little background on how you got started in lacrosse, and your maybe just a high level of your story.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you guys for having me. So, I started lacrosse way back in second grade. My parents brought me to some clinic in one of the domes and actually had met Jeff Bauman. So Gabby Bauman had played on my team last year and he was the ref and he really talked to them the whole time, got them really into it. I originally was like, it's okay, but my dad promised to buy me my own stick if I kept with it. So I did. Um, Kept playing. I joined True Lacrosse in fifth grade and which later turned into Pipeline, which is where I play now. Had a blast all playing. Played JV and varsity my seventh grade year. Then COVID was eighth grade, but continued on for varsity the rest. I've had so much fun with my teammates there. Last October, I committed to Temple University. I'll be furthering my education and continuing on there.
Yeah, no, that's great. Obviously one of the top players in the 2024 class, and it's funny you mentioned the Bowmans. My first year coaching club lacrosse, like 2012 maybe, Drew Bowman was the goalie on my team. So, I think it's the same family of like,
Yep.
yeah. So he's the oldest. So, a Lakeville staple family for a long time, and also, my daughter's in second grade and just started lacrosse last summer, and she was kind of like, yeah, it was fun, but I don't know, we'll see. So this gives me hope that like maybe she'll be like, all right, I'll give it a shot and see what happens. But no, I obviously, you're being pretty humble in your intro, but last year, 62 points, All American, obviously committed to play at Division One. Um, you know,
What struck you about Temple? Like, obviously, you looked at a lot of schools. What was it? What was their X factor that you were like, this is it right here?
I would say immediately the coaching staff. So nice. I felt like so comfortable around them right away. I could tell they obviously know what they're doing. They have like really good goals and they immediately like set the culture of the team. Like that's just everything was positive. Felt really good about it.
Super cool.
Yeah, we're headed out to Philadelphia
Oh,
this summer. And I know there's so many colleges like right in a
yeah.
like just couple mile radius and Temple. Is that actually downtown or is it out a little bit?
It is like 8 minutes from the airport, so it's like right in there.
Yeah, sweet. No, that's cool.
Do
You
you
know,
run like for fun outside of lacrosse?
I do.
Because I heard the Philadelphia, it's in Philadelphia, right? Not
Yep.
Pittsburgh. I hear the Philadelphia Marathon. I don't run, so this is all like I hear the Philadelphia Marathon is like awesome. Like I've heard the Twin Cities one is awesome because there's fans along the way. Boston is
Okay.
Boston, but I've heard actually the Philadelphia Marathon of all places because I think you finish on the Rocky Steps
Oh, cool.
is like the finish line. So if you ever have aspirations to run a marathon, do it while you're out there and run the Philly one, or go back as an alum or something like that. But I don't know how I know that,
No, that's good to
but
know.
I'm never gonna run it. So do it for us and report back.
yeah, no, that I don't run either, but I mean, no, yeah, definitely let us know. Let us know if you get roped into that when you're out
Okay.
there. But I do I want to talk a little bit about, Lakeville South. So it's been kind of this rise and then like the last couple years like dynasty level dominance. Um but so your freshman year was the heartbreaker in the semis, right?
No, I'm
Sophomore.
glad we're started right.
Yeah,
Freshman year is this is where I wanted to start. Was
okay, sorry.
2021 was the state championship, right?
It was.
Okay, good. Because I was like, am I mistaken? But I was like, I was gonna bring it there if you weren't gonna bring it there, Ted.
Okay, so you
So was
kind of
2019 what you're talking about?
yeah, maybe. I think where I was going is you've had kind of all of the emotions around like like you're so you get in there like you win a state championship, you had a heartbreaker in a semi, you've been
Mhm.
up, right? It's like all these different things that you've experienced, and now you're a senior, like you've already experienced all this stuff. Now you're going into your senior year, and you guys get a lot of players back. Last year that game against Vanilla,
Mhm.
epic game. It could have gone either way, and tip of the cap to them. But I think your team reloads quite a bit of talent. You've all been there before. What's the feeling internally like with your teammates kind of going into the season?
We're all really excited. Like we all talk about it constantly, how like we're just looking forward to it. We can't wait. I personally am really excited because we have a lot of younger girls who are just very talented, and I know they're working all season long. They're like going to pipeline, and then we do chillax as a team, and that always gets us all excited. And just everyone is really looking forward to it. We know it's going to be another good year, and yeah, we just everyone can't wait to get back to it.
Yeah, do you feel like is there a different energy, like more of I don't know, call it like a revenge tour almost, more a little bit of like just doing that little bit extra because I think it did fall short. I mean, an amazing season. I'm not saying
Hmm.
you guys have a great season, but maybe fell short of what you guys maybe expected of yourselves. And I think a lot of people, myself included, were like they're the team to beat. And now you can kind of run it back and say like, all right, mate, hey, like someone got the best of us last year, but we're gonna run it back. And is like a little bit of like a little hungrier maybe just to like prove that like, hey, that you got us last year, but you're not gonna stop us this year.
Yeah, for sure. I think a little chip on the shoulder to get us going right away. I think that'll be good for us, definitely.
Not great news for the girls MSHSL league that Lakeville South now has a chip on their shoulder.
Yeah.
Like that they're motivated. But um,
So
tell
I
us.
want to keep bringing it back to 2021 first. So you were a ninth grader,
Yes.
right? Um, that was actually my first year kind of like involved with high school. So I'm looking, your only loss that year was to Prior Lake, and
Hmm.
then you lost to them. What do you remember about that state championship? because this is my first sort of like introduction to you. So I want to hear what you think, and then I'm going to tell you what I know and remember about you in that state championship game.
I definitely think it wasn't necessarily surprise getting to that point, but we all had we were like really excited to go to the state tournament. We hadn't been there for a while, and we just we won the first two games, and we didn't, not that we didn't expect it, but it just went a lot better than we thought it would. So getting into that championship, we were like, we're just happy to be here, honestly. Like, that's what I remember feeling. We had a very close team that year. It was our coming back from COVID, so everyone is just extra excited to be out there. Specifically, I feel like I thought it was interesting because you guys interviewed Peyton Blado recently, and I was just listening to that, and I just remember how it was me and Katie Grubbs, the little freshman, were we were supposed to guard her, and that was our thing. And I just remember being a little afraid of her, and that was our little job, so following her around. But really, I just remember that they came out much stronger than we did, and it was kind of an uphill battle the whole time. But it was a good game from what I do remember.
It was a great game, and I think again, you're right. Right after all the COVID stuff, I think everybody was just so grateful to have any sort of season that no one really had any expectations, and masks at the beginning of the season. All I remember was, and being with Prior Lake, it was definitely like a destiny thing. I had to bring Peyton a bagel because she was being crabby, and she's like, I just need a bagel from Panera. And I was like, if that's all you need here, I can make that happen. And it was kind of like a team of destiny on their side, but you were the scout. That was because you were taking the draws. And I think that's when you kind of first started finding your niche, taking the draw. And that was all we talked about. I mean, I wasn't at practice. I wasn't anything, but those last kind of moments of the coaching aspect before they went and did their warm up and everything like that, it was you. It was just and you have these bright green cleats. Everyone knows where you are on the field. And I think you and Coach Heather have been kind of really close in the off season. And it was that's all we talked about. And I was like, who is this girl? And it was I'm pretty sure they had watched film of you at the hotel, and just that was how they were going to beat you. And of course, your insane goalie of the year, Lindsay Wirfs, obviously. There was more to it, but at the same time, it was all of a sudden then that became, and I'm pretty sure that the rest is history, that is still the scout. I don't know for sure what they talk about when they play you, but it's I'm pretty sure that's probably top of the list of how are we going to get around your draw? So that was my memory of it. So then we go into 2022, which is an even more wild of a season because you lost to Chan 9-10. And I remember that was the upset heard around the world. And everyone was like, what in the heck? What's going on? And so walk us through maybe what you remember from that day.
I do remember it was a lot, everyone had put a lot of pressure on the game, and it was kind of I remember Coach T had said that, or Crandall maybe, that we had beaten ourselves. So it was kind of a mental part. I remember at the end, Grubbs and I not being able to walk off the field because then it makes it real.
So yeah, the drama, yes.
Yep. But yeah, I just remember being that was definitely helpful to us. I think it was a motivator for the rest of the season, and ended up being better for us.
Yep, an insane record going into the rest of the season. Like you said, you went on to win, only to play Chan in the championship game. And I watched the ending. I think I was there for the boys state championship. So I think I got there at half, and it was a battle. And then those last moments, I mean, it was just clearly dominating, and you ended up beating them. So it was that right there, maybe redemption. And so you've literally lost one game in the last 2 games in the last season, unfortunately. Then walk us through, like Ted said, then you went on to have an undefeated regular season this year, which you were a junior last year,
Hmm.
still taking the draw mostly, right? You don't go out, you play midfield. Like you do your
Yep.
draw and play midfield. Do you ever pop in on any other position, or is it that's your thing that you started to own?
Yeah, usually
Yeah,
midfield.
that's what I
Always.
thought. Yeah, and then obviously we won't bring up again the loss to Benilde, and obviously their fate was them too. But what other memories stick out from, like I said, like for people who don't know that you guys have just had like an absolute insane record and a coaching shift to continue that insane record. What are some highlights from you?
For sure, the Rosemont game of
Mm,
2022, we had come back, I think, 7 points in 10 minutes.
yes.
That I remember that more vividly than any game that I've played in. So
How could I forget that one? Yeah, yeah.
I just rewatch it sometimes.
Oh, you do not. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I mean,
I mean, it was in your
looking at
favor.
this,
Yeah.
looking at the 2022 state tournament, a
Mhm.
10-9 win against Elk River Zimmerman, a 14-13 that Rosemount game, and then 10-7 Chanhassen. So like those were some games you had to sweat out a little bit. They weren't like
For sure.
easy, like, oh, we got this, like we can relax. Like those were tough wins. And that, yeah, I do remember hearing and kind of seeing that Rosemount game, and they were really good that year too. Uh,
Hmm.
and so like that was kind of another epic battle. I feel like you guys have had a couple of those in the last few years. You know, you're going to get everybody's best when they play you. I mean, you've just
Yes.
earned that right now. That's a game that's circled on the calendar. Like we're going to sell out to try to beat Lakeville South. And yeah, it's funny that you go back and watch that game. I don't know a lot of high school or high school age players that even like really go back and watch film of anything. And obviously, you know, you're a Division 1, you know, future Division 1 athlete, so you probably have, you know, some good habits around that. But no, that's I remember that game and kind of hearing, I was getting text messages from
Yep.
Kate here from somebody being like, you won't believe what's going on right now.
Yeah. Because you guys scored what, like 5 goals in like the last like 5 minutes or something like absolutely ridiculous like that. I was sitting with Heather at the Prior Lake boys game. And again, all the girls were like texting us live updates. Like just, we were like, what? And we pulled up the stream and our stream was a little delayed from like the game, obviously, or the text
Oh yeah.
messages. And so we literally were just like sitting there, hovered over this phone. And like, it was incredible.
I want to shift a little bit away from high school, like MSHSL season, and talk a little bit about your recruiting process. Obviously, you know, going on to play Division 1, you know, kind of walk us through like the things that you found that were valuable in your recruiting process, but also like, you know, maybe for kind of like maybe other options you maybe considered or things you were weighing. I think there's a lot of players and parents that listen to this that don't really understand the recruiting process or are a little overwhelmed by it. So, you know, if there's anything you're willing to share about that whole process to lead to your decision, we would love to hear it.
Yeah, for sure. Um, I know we talked about how Coach Heather and I were pretty close. I was very thankful to her in my early recruiting process because like seventh, eighth grade, she was already getting my team like ready. Here's what you need to do to get ready because I know it seems far away, but it's really not. There's so many things that you need to get done. So it was a lot of time. And she would like meet with us and we had little checklists, and especially because I feel like I'm kind of a worrier and a planner. So it was nice to like have things to get done and check off my little list. Um, it was mainly, I feel like people don't really value highlight reels as much as they should. We film our high school games, so that was very helpful to me. Thankful to the Mo's parents for always doing that, so I could put them together that way. I would send so many emails. It just getting ready for different tournaments and things like that. It also started with just I'm a little seventh grader out in Baltimore for a tournament, just going what colleges are around. Let's see what do we like. Like, do I want to go to a big school? Because at that point you don't really know what you even want. So just like seeing the different types was always helpful to me. Very thankful to my parents for getting me across the country to those opportunities to see all those different types of things. Um, Later, getting to getting closer to my junior year with Temple, the summer before, I had like, I've always heard of them because you kind of think East Coast, you think like, I don't know. I didn't really know exactly where they were, but I definitely heard of them. And I had seen they were at all three of the tournaments that we were at.
Mm.
And I had seen one of them kind of at like all of our games that a certain day. And I just remember like telling my dad, I'm like, I think they're coming and watching us. Like they might be maybe my profile and that sort of thing. And I remember feeling really embarrassed because I had told him that and the other coach was like walking behind us. So she like heard me say it and I was like, oh my goodness.
Whoops.
Yup.
Hopefully it was
But
a good foot and mouth moment and
yeah,
not a bad one. It was a good one.
for sure. Actually, they had told me, so I'm very strong in my faith and I know that like God has a plan for me and this is all his doing. Um, Bonnie and Liz, my coaches, had actually told me they just sat down at a field originally. I had emailed them, but they didn't, that wasn't what got them there. They sat down and they watched me and were like, hey, let's see, we like her. Like, let's like see a couple more games. And they followed and eventually reached out to Kristen Crandall. And I'm very thankful for both of them because they got on so many calls for me and did all of the communicating behind the scenes that probably a lot that I don't even know about. And I'm very thankful to them for that. And eventually, in I think it was late September, October, I got out on campus and I really liked it and got to talk to the coaches and all of their players were actually involved in the camp. So I got to meet them and just see what kind of people they were. And it all, yeah, it really all lined up and it was good. So that's where I'm at now.
Yeah,
Love it.
no, congratulations. And
Thank you.
no, I think you touched on something. You said that you put your highlights together. You
Mm-hmm.
sent a lot of emails. Like you had to put yourself out there. Like it can be embarrassing. It can be uncomfortable to say, like, look at me, watch me play, like advocate for yourself. And that's something we tell a lot of our players too when they're going through the recruiting process is like, it's not going to feel comfortable. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
just not a natural thing, like to market yourself. It does take practice and you're going to send a lot of emails or make calls and like you're not going to either get a reply or maybe not get the answer that you want. But what I like is that you kept going, you kept doing it and Temple wasn't even on the radar for you
Mm-hmm.
because you weren't really aware of it and you just went out and played your best lacrosse that you could and they happened to sit down and like
Mm-hmm.
that stuff happens. There was a player that played for us a while ago that he wasn't really getting recruited, wanted to play Division 1, went out to a tournament, and the kid that he was guarding in that game was committed to a school. So the coaches came to watch that kid and he shut him down. And they're like, well, if this is the attackman we're taking and this guy can stop him, then we probably should give him a look too. And then he ended up committing. So that stuff definitely happens, but you can tell that you did the work to prepare yourself to be ready to be seen. You'd be ready for that exposure when the moment came where a coach decided to sit down at the field. Obviously you've done a ton of work to prepare, like with your skills and athleticism, but we're also doing the work in the recruiting process to be ready to be recruited. So I admire that and I appreciate that. I think I'm glad that you said it because I think sometimes people just think like letters are going to show up in the mailbox of like, come play for us. We're a top 10 Division 1 program. Like, we saw you score a goal at your Minnesota, high school game. And it's like, it doesn't really work like that. You have to put a lot of output in order to get the look, get the input. So, appreciate you sharing that.
Oh, thank
Especially
you.
the film of like you don't and like you said someone like if they looked at like your I assume like your sports recruit profile or
Mm-hmm.
something like you never know who's looking and it's like especially the film to be like I'm sure those initial emails were or like reach outs were like let me look at film and like these coaches are sitting in their office scrolling like all of us are and it's like they're scrolling through film and it's like you got to have that catchy thing and like Ted said like
Mm-hmm.
you are obviously prepared on the field but those first couple emails I know the one question I get asked all the time is like, how are they as like a person and like like an athlete off of the field? And so you're lucky to have those people and of course the personality to back it up to like say like you were advocated for. And so that's really important to have those relationships too.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool.
Um,
Congrats. That's super cool.
Yeah,
Thank you.
what's one thing or multiple things, but one thing that you're looking forward to? Obviously, you still have a high school season, well, more left, so you don't want to overlook that. But what are you looking forward to playing in college or going to Temple?
Yeah. Like I mentioned before, I think that the people there, they all just seem like so nice. And I remember I had my official visit in the end of September, and the freshman I was paired with wouldn't stop talking about how much she's like, we just have so much fun. We get up at 5 a.m. and you think it'd be awful, but we just go out and everyone's in a great mood and you're having so much fun. And I was like, that just sounds like great. Like, that sounds like my kind of people. I'm just like excited to be playing the sport that I love. And especially, I'm looking forward to just like the next level. Like, where can I go with this? Like, I want to play lacrosse for as long as I can, and just being able to continue to do that is really exciting for me.
Love it.
Yeah, for sure. Do you like Philly cheesesteaks?
I do.
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
never had one.
yeah. They're pretty good. Yeah,
Mhm.
when we
I don't know where I mean, I should go to Philly because and you don't call it a sandwich, right? You're not supposed to call it a Philly cheesesteak sandwich. Did you know that?
I
That's
didn't know that.
good. I did not.
Like
Yeah,
it's not a sandwich. It's just a Philly cheesesteak.
I
Huh.
think out there they just call them steaks. They're just like, let's go get
Oh,
steaks. But that's
yeah.
like their way of saying it. But if like we went out there and said it, they'd be like, don't try to talk like us.
Yeah,
You know?
well, right. Yeah, I was watching some show probably about the Philly cheesesteak, but like, yeah, it's like you're not supposed to call it a Philly. Like, I'm not going for like a chicken sandwich. You're not going out for a Philly cheesesteak sandwich. And I assume the best one, you guys
That's
were
hot.
just out there like a couple of years ago, weren't you?
Yeah,
When you went to Delaware, you flew in there. Are
yeah,
they
yeah.
like I envision a food truck that you can only get a Philly cheesesteak on a food truck.
There,
Like you don't go to a restaurant
I
and
mean,
order a Philly cheesesteak.
there's multiple places, but I think a lot of them are like
Yeah.
walk up like to the counter, like a you go and you order and you get it, and they just hand it to you, and you're just like, all
Yeah,
right,
yeah, yeah, yeah. What an experience. Maybe
it's
I
not
should
like a
go.
5-star like dining
Yeah,
experience.
no, no, like kind of like a taco truck. Like you kind of the dingier the better.
Yeah,
I should think, oh God, I wish I remember what show that was because I would post about it now. Because don't say sandwich. I'm pretty sure that's
yeah.
don't call it a Philly cheesesteak sandwich.
You'll have to tell us when you get out
Yeah,
there, like if
yeah.
Okay.
that's a
Tag
legit.
down the alley when your friends and your local friends, like your local teammates, will like take you to the hot spot,
Yeah,
or tell us that they don't eat them ever or something like that. Like that,
tourist.
it's like our impression of them out there, and they're like, we don't ever eat those. I don't know what
Um,
our equivalent would be, tater tot hot dish, I guess here, but we do eat
They did
that.
ask me about
So
that.
they did. They asked you
Hmm.
about it. Did
They
they
were
call it
like,
a
well,
casserole?
yeah, they're like, well, what's your thing? And I was like, I mean, we have Honeycrisp apples and like
We
dairy.
do.
And like, what about,
Wow, I would have never thought of those things.
yeah, so we're all like, oh, you're from the Midwest. It's got to be
Yeah,
Mhm.
well,
that's a
every
I,
good one. And then did
I
you
got
say tater
for
tot
my
hot
accent.
dish? Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, what was their thing? Did you say, do you like Philly cheesesteak?
Yeah, and they said Philly pretzels too. I had one,
Oh,
and don't tell anyone, but it was okay. Like I
like
wasn't
a
that
soft pretzel?
it like oh well. So we had watched just like they had like a fall ball game, and then we ate them,
Yeah.
so they were like cold. So maybe that was the problem.
Oh,
But
did
I
it
was
with
like, this is
cheese,
just
like a pub cheese?
yeah. So that was
Did
like
that
the
not make a good impression on you?
yeah. It was okay.
Yeah. And then they asked us, what else did you say? We do have dairy. You're right.
Hmm.
And Honeycrisp apples.
Yeah, and then I was like, and you've probably heard casseroles, and they're like, yeah, that thing. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
not
You're
really
like, well, we
it.
call them hot dish.
Yeah.
And so you're like, hate to break it to you, you're wrong. Oh my
No,
gosh. Yeah, I think Philly's gonna go on my list maybe. Maybe I'll have to go to
yeah,
Philly.
for sure.
I hear it's cold. It gets cold.
I asked them, I'm like, oh, does it like snow a lot? And they were like, so much, like three
Oh.
inches. And I
Oh,
was like,
okay, yeah, yeah.
oh, so
That's the
no.
city down. Yeah. You'll bring like your light spring gem. You'll like
Yeah,
their deep darkest winter is like what we play games in the spring.
for real.
Tell us a little bit how you got into the draw.
Yeah. Originally it was just because I was tall. They were like, oh,
Great.
you're tall,
Yep.
go take it. And even so our current captains are me, Katie Grubbs, and Savannah O'Brien. and the three of us have actually been together since fourth grade. So
Great,
we
yeah.
were a midline then, fourth grade, and I started taking the draw, and I realized I can like get it to one of them. So that started becoming, cause like we would kind of trade off and take it, but I started getting good at that aspect, and then it just kept going, and it really took off when Heather Pearson started taking. She did like a bunch of draw clinics, and it was like not how to take the draw, but how to increase your forearm strength and do one-handed, and it was like that's when it started getting a lot better.
I'll ask her if she regrets that. Because we still have to play. I'm just kidding. She for sure doesn't, but I'll be like, you did this to us. You'd think she would know how to stop you, but she can't. We can't stop you.
Kind of shifting away from lacrosse as we kind of wrap up with the last couple questions. One thing we asked is sort of, like, is there anything you're into right now? I guess it could be lacrosse related, but like, what are you into right now? Like, what's trending in your life that you're that you like, or that you're into, that would kind of give people an inside look into your personality a little bit.
One thing most people don't know about me is that I do Taekwondo, and I actually just got like passed the test, so now I'm like a recommended black belt. So in 6 months I can test for my black belt. I do that with my brother.
Wow.
Wow.
Have you seen those TikToks that are like, okay, well, I'm old, so I see them on Instagram, but it's like me telling my mom I want to do karate, but she signs me up for ballet instead. And then it's like Robber at 3 a.m. and they're doing like ballet moves. Have you seen those reels or TikToks or memes?
I also don't have TikTok, but I have seen the Instagram reels.
Okay. Like that's what I'm thinking of. It's like, have you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And they're like me wanting to do karate, and then it's like they're like, oh, mom signs me up for cheerleading instead, and then it's like me when a robber comes into my house at 3 a.m. and it's like doing like cheerleading moves and stuff, but they're actually really funny.
Yeah.
Ballroom dance or something like that. I'm like, they get me every time.
So yeah, no, that is cool to know. Obviously now, not only are you a gifted athlete, but now you have the mental strength too, and from martial arts. So
when's your test?
It'll be in March. I don't know the exact date.
And that's like you'll be like a sensei after that, or what? Like you just are like, will you be like, it just is what it is?
Like, is there anything farther than like black belt?
There's farther degrees. I think our like the master there is like 6. Okay. So it's like it goes, but like
you could do it forever in your life.
You could.
Wow. Yeah. Cool.
Let's see. What else? Recently I started an internship at Campus Faith Clubs. And so some people don't know so they run faith clubs in all the high schools around Minnesota. So that I only started last week, but it's been really fun so far. And I'm just like excited for the opportunity to help grow them. Yeah.
Cool.
Nice. And then kind of the last question we ask, and we say, what's your alley? And this is just maybe something that's meaningful to you. I know you touched on your faith a little bit, but something that is kind of maybe a bigger purpose in your life that, again, kind of showcases your personality a little bit off the field. And so what is your alley?
Yeah, I would definitely say my faith as well. I think it's my motivator behind everything I do, and what I always strive to be the best I can be, and share it with others.
Cool. Yeah, no, we appreciate you coming on. I think everybody's going to really enjoy getting to know you a little bit more. They're going to see you play this year. They're going to hear your name. So I think it's a cool opportunity for us to, I don't know, give you a platform to let people kind of hear you and see you. And we really appreciate you coming on, and good luck in 2024, and beyond, of course.
Yeah.
And, yeah, thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you guys for having me. Thank you very much.
Love it. We'll see you out on the field, in what, 6 months? Are we out? 6 months?
Yeah. About 6. No, not 6, about 4. About 4 months.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tori.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
Yeah.
Bye. Bye.
So there you have it. Tori Tschida. Is it Tschida or Tashida?
I guess we never, I
Yeah.
guess we did not even,
Uh,
we might have introduced her wrong.
but seems like a sharp gal.
Yeah.
Obviously a player going on to
A
play
lot going
Division One.
on, like super involved, like has an internship. Seems like she does, yeah, the Taekwondo. So it's like I'm sure she keeps up with her grades just fine.
Yep, yep. No, sharp kid. Obviously heck of a player, and seems like a real leader. For Lakeville South, and like we touched on, I think they do have a chip on their shoulder. I think last year that was kind of, um, again, no, not taking anything away from BSM. Like they were a great team too, and they got the best of them that day. But I think in the Lakeville South's mind and like in the public eye, it was like their tournament to lose, and BSM got the better of them, ended up winning it. So I think I'll be curious to see kind of like what that looks like for Lakeville South this year, mainly because I don't know if have we had a team that's been that dominant for that long? Like I know maybe Benilde boys up until this year for
Eden Prairie Girls would be the only one I mean,
very
they were
girl.
like, they won
Yeah.
like five or six,
Okay. So yeah,
seven. Because we were looked at, I was actually just about to look that up the other day because I'm
yeah.
like, and like their 2019, they lost to Lakeville North. So like, and now the Lakeville North girls are definitely like rebuilding, and it's like that wouldn't even be like a contest now. And it's like
Yeah.
then you look at their 2022. Obviously, 2021 they lose only to Prior Lake. Like that's still an incredible record. 2022 they lose one game. So in
Yeah.
3 seasons, they've lost like 4 games max, I think.
And
Like
look at
that's just absolutely like unfathomable.
yeah, and
And
like
I think you're right. They had a chip on. I think they'll have a chip on their shoulder this year, like they did in 22.
last year, I mean, every game was like, I mean, they were winning games by 20 goals.
Yeah, yeah,
And then the Prior Lake game was a 1 goal game. And most of the other games they were scoring in the 20s or the high teens,
yeah,
uh, giving up, 6 or less goals. So like, wild, like team, and they get a lot of people back. And I didn't,
yeah.
I didn't want to like pressure her into like talking about her teammates or like what they're like planning or whatever, but like they
Well,
did.
the three of them, I didn't realize that. I mean, you know the name Katie Grubbs, you know the name Savannah O'Brien, I think is their other line mate. Like,
Yeah,
they have been on varsity since seventh graders. They were on that 2019 team, I'm pretty sure, together. So it's like they went through COVID together. They have gone these last 3 seasons, freshman, sophomore, junior year, as a like a state contender championship game team. And it's like, so now they're seniors, and we always talk about how to never underestimate like being upperclassmen heavy. And like, and on the flip side, when you're really young as a team, it's hard to compete. And now they've been playing, and I feel like they're like best of friends. They probably just spend a lot of time together because of the nature of as much as they practice or whatever, or club teams. But it's just
yeah,
like that is going to be a force to be reckoned with. Besides the fact that they have the experience in the past, besides the fact that they're all really good at lacrosse, the fact that they have just been like together is
chemistry.
is going to be absolutely like
I
unbreakable in
mean,
my opinion.
just looking at the sources notes from the post that they did on Lakeville
Or
South.
on Down the Alley Plus.
No, just on Down the Alley
Oh, on
pod
the blog.
just the Minnesota Lax blog. It's all free. So you got Tori, Katie Grubbs, Savannah O'Brien. They all three of them last year were All American, first team All
Yeah.
State, first team All Section, and SSC All Conference. Tori going to Temple, obviously. Katie going to Northern Michigan Division Two. Savannah going to Dominican Division Two. So,
Like I I
yeah,
don't know how I would even begin to crack that code. I don't know. Like I'm like I maybe I'm just having like a huge I was doing some like click clacking computer work today. Maybe I'm just a little fried. But I'm like I don't know from a coaching perspective, what would you even do to crack that code? Like, do you break down one of them? Do you try to stop? I mean, Tori's unstoppable on the draw. Like that, like I said, I was not lying about that. That is like the game plan, especially and like the boys game. We saw it in the championship game for the boys. Like, what's his
Yep.
toes doing the fogo? Like it is hard to stop a team who wins the majority of the draw or the face off. So it's like, okay, then do you lock out her midi mates? You can't just lock out one or the other
And
because they're gonna make up for it.
so fun fact, um, so actually, you have to educate me a little bit on draw controls. So if like let's say Tori's in the middle, right? She plays like the actual draw.
Yep, yep.
If she flicks it and it goes to one of her teammates, do they get the credit for the draw control?
This is a
Here,
great question
here's why I asked.
for.
Here's why I asked, because Tori had 57 draw controls, Katie Grubbs had 84, Savannah O'Brien had 111.
So
So
I
they
think the
must
person who catches the ball gets
it's
the point.
to see in boys, if I was the face-off guy and I won the ball and my teammate picked it up, I'd get credit for that face-off win. We got possession. It goes to the face-off win for the person who took the face-off. But
Right.
obviously, the way these stats are, we could be wrong, but like a lot of people on this team have draw controls, and you'd think Tori
Yeah.
would
I
be
think then they get the point. I'm sure we're going to get some text messages about this when
yeah,
our people listen, our
yeah,
stats friends,
yeah.
which I think I've proclaimed on this podcast that I'm not a stats person, but I believe then that makes sense that the person who actually receives the ball gets the draw control point
But
as
still,
opposed to like, well,
re-
yeah,
regardless of like who gets the stats, you got 111, 84, and 57, and then Emily Mose had 48. So like that's a lot of draws that's just a lot of draws
yeah,
taken,
yep,
loan controlled for your
yep,
team. And so it's no surprise that they score 25 goals game
right,
because they score and then they get the ball and they score and they get the ball and it's just make it
yeah,
take it all
yeah,
game long. So
right.
no, it's they will be a force to be reckoned with. I know we'll dive a lot deeper into these teams as we get closer to sort of the section previews. But they definitely are again, one of the teams to beat this year, probably the team to beat again. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're, the locked in state champ, as we saw that, big, great teams can lose, but, they will be the team to beat. And I agree with you. The scout kind of going into a game with a team like that, in my opinion, you say we can't try to stop everybody because it's impossible. It's just we have to play really good team defense, and when we do have our opportunities, we have to capitalize, and we can't make
Very true.
mistakes. If
Yeah,
you give them
yeah.
extra chances, like they're
They'll
gonna.
win them. Yeah,
So that's how
yeah,
I would approach a game like that.
yeah.
And
I think the
yeah, so
source referred to them as NCAA Division Two at one point because it's
I,
it's
I
definitely the
saw
balls on the ground a lot less than some other
yeah.
teams.
And I saw him warm up before a game last year because
Oh
like the
yeah, I
boys
remember you texted
and
that.
then the girls were right after at Lakeville South. And I mean, like they were sharp. Like it was the line
Yeah,
drills were quick, the passes were crisp. There was not a lot of drops. There wasn't a lot of screwing around. Like they were loose, they were having fun, but it was dialed
yeah,
in. Like, they knew they were
yeah,
gonna go and dominate. So it is an experience kind of watching them play. So
yeah.
uh yeah, no, we appreciate having Tori on, and I like that we're starting to interview some players. I think it's
Me too.
a good look into kind of how they feel about the season and
Yeah,
especially the recruiting process too. I think that's an area of lacrosse in Minnesota that a lot of people don't know a lot about. They have a lot of assumptions about it, and it's good to, everybody I talk to about recruiting has a lot of similarities, but also has a very much their own unique journey in their recruiting process and how it happened and how they go
right.
through. But a lot of things are consistent.
And I like hearing it
Sorry.
from the kids. Like she said, like it's the film, or like I had my coaches had conversations. Like, it wasn't her saying like my parents just drove me out there. Like, but they did. But like
Yeah.
my parents talked to the coach on the phone. It's like, nope, actually, it's all the kid. And so it was really cool to hear her advocate for herself, but like she was walking the walk too.
Yeah. Um, I'm not sure who we have coming up. I know we have a couple more interviews lined up. I'm going to try to get more players, but um, by the time when this episode airs, I think it's going to be we're going to start getting a little closer to the like Winter League. We'll be starting up, and like we're starting getting closer to that season. So, um, like obviously lacrosse is kind of around the corner. We're getting into that quote unquote
Yeah, I
preseason.
said 6 months, and it's like you said, I'm like, that was wrong. It's for sure 4.
20 days away. So um,
Yeah.
it's definitely heating up.
Want to what's your thing this week?
Oh, that's a good question. The thing, I guess the
Or
thing
any
that,
rants? You guys had a tournament.
yeah, tournament was good. That was, obviously fun to play lacrosse in, 65-degree weather. Um, I think my thing right now is just getting through the end of the semester with my kids. There's a lot of
Mm,
things going on, a lot of like it's the holiday season, so there's a million obligations as far as stuff at school, stuff with family, holiday parties, all that kind of stuff. So just kind of getting through that. But honestly, I've been really, really, really impressed with SDP this year.
hmm
For our SDP program, 36, kind of our off-season training.
I
Um,
feel like we really hit the ground running. In the years past, it was like, oh, couple weeks to kind of everybody get their feet wet. But I feel like from that very first
I
day,
agree.
it was like we literally have been kind of like nose to the grindstone.
Yeah,
Kids
the
are showing
numbers.
up and like putting in work.
Yeah, the numbers have been great. Like you said, they've been working hard. It definitely is different this year. In the years past, it's kind of felt like November and December was sort of like we're here, but lacrosse season's kind of far away. But it doesn't
Right.
seem like that this year. It seems like we're
And they
prepping
were
for.
like chomping at the bit for November. Like it's like we could have started SDP in September and October, but like
Yeah,
that November start date was like people were ready for it.
yeah. So that's been great. The youth kids on the at least on the boys side, I don't coach on the girls side, but you've had a bunch of youth girls, but on the
Yeah.
side specifically, I've been really impressed with their improvement. I like
Good.
the collective skill level of the youth SDP has taken like a huge step forward.
Right. And like
Usually,
the low end of the bar is higher.
yeah, and like the drills that we do they're not like the craziest drills or anything like that, and like it's similar to what we've done in the past, but there's less drops, there's a little bit faster pace, there's better shots on the net, there's quicker footwork,
That's
easier ground
great.
balls, like just
Yeah.
like the level just up like one notch. And like I usually with youth I'm kind of like, all right, like we just kind of have to like let them fail and like let them get through it. And it kind of feels like you want it to move faster than it does. This year I was like, whoa, like this looks like real lacrosse right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
That again, that was just like initial feeling. It doesn't change really the way that I coach or that how we do things. It's just like a pleasant surprise to see
Very
that
much so.
the
Yeah.
collective the collective
Yeah.
level of lacrosse at the younger age
Yeah.
is getting better than it was last year or 2 years ago or whatever.
Yeah, I can even say that for sure for the girls like fall stuff. It was like they were able to like work on stuff. Like and like the commitment was there and like they show up and they're eager to learn and like you're right. It was like, wow, this is like we're doing lax as like a group of 12, 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds.
Yeah, no, I
Cool.
agree. Well, that's all for today.
Cool. Love
Thank
it.
you, Tori, for coming on and coming down the alley with us, and we will catch you next week.